Hi everyone and welcome to account. Let us now proceed to another type of adjusting entries, and this is deferrals. So deferrals has two kinds: per collection of income and prepayment of expenses. So we will discuss first the first one, the per collection of income. The pre-collected income is an income that is already collected but not yet earned. So this is exactly the opposite of the accrued income. As we have discussed earlier, accrued income is an income that is already earned but not yet collected. Ito namang pre-collected income, this is an income that is already collected but not yet earned. We have here an illustration. On October 1, 2018, Cordillera Realty Corporation collected 12,000 pesos from a tenant representing an advance collection from building rental for 1 year. And then the accounting period ends on December 31, 2018. In this illustration, the 12,000 pesos collected by Cordillera Realty Corporation on October 1, 2018 is an example of a pre-collected income. It's because this 12,000 pesos is an advance collection from the rental of a building. This is a per-collected income in the sense that this 12,000 pesos is good for a 1-year rent. Pero hindi pa natapos yung 1 year, pero na-collect na ni Cordillera Realty Corporation itong 12,000. So this is an income that is already collected but not yet earned. There are two methods or approaches that can be used in recording pre-collection, and these are the income method and the liability method. Under the income method, an income account is credited upon collection or receipt of cash. This is also called nominal approach because income is an income statement account, and income statement accounts are also called nominal accounts. And this is the journal entry of Cordillera Realty Corporation on October 1, 2018 under the income method. So debit cash 12,000 pesos and then credit to rent income 12,000 pesos. This is the record collection of advance rent for the period from October 1, 2018 to October 1, 2019. So take note that under the income method, the income account, specifically rent income, is credited. The other method in recording pre-collected income is the liability method or real approach. In this method, a liability account is credited upon collection or receipt of cash. This method is also called real approach because liability is a balance sheet, and balance sheet accounts are also real accounts. To illustrate this liability method, we will go now to the illustration. And this will be the journal entry of Cordillera Realty Corporation on October 1, 2018 under the liability method. So debit cash 12,000 and then credit to unearned rent income 12,000. So take note that our credit entry under the liability method is the liability account, which is the unearned rent income. If there is no adjusting entry prepared at the end of the accounting period, the entire amount of 12,000 pesos under the income method will be charged to income or rent income. And then if liability method is used, the entire amount of 12,000 will be charged to liability, which is the unearned rent income. And if that would be the case, so at the end of the accounting period, mali yung balances ng income and ng liability. And damay-damay na yun. Other accounts will also be affected. And as a result, mali din yung financial statements natin. So, kailangan talaga mag-prepare ng adjusting entry in order to correct the balances. Kasi, in reality, the 12,000 pesos is not only an income or it's not only a liability. The 12,000 pesos is a mixture of income and liability. It's a mixture of earned and unearned. Earned will be charged to income, and then the unearned portion will be charged to liability. As a result, mali din yung financial statements. So, kailangan talaga makapag-prepare ng adjusting entries in order to correct the balances. Kasi in reality, the 12,000 pesos, it's not only rent income. It's not only unearned rent income. The 12,000 pesos becomes a mixture of accounts. So, there's a portion there that is already earned and there's a portion that is still unearned. So, it's a mixture of account. It's a mixture of income and liability. Let us now determine how much is the earned or the income portion of the 12,000 pesos and how much is the liability or the unearned portion of the 12,000 pesos. So, let's start with the income portion or the earned portion of the 12,000 pesos. Let's have first the earned portion or the income portion of the 12,000 pesos. So the 12,000 pesos collected from building rental is good for 1 year. So let us determine first how much is the rental every month. So 12,000 divided by 12 months. 12 months because there are 12 months in a year. So that is equal to 1,000. So meaning to say the monthly rental is 1,000 pesos. And then we're going to multiply it by 3 months. So 3 months, so that is the number of months that lapse. So that is from October 1, 2018 up to the end of the accounting period, which is December 31, 2018. So from October 1 to October 31, 2018, that is 1 month. From November 1 to November 30, that is another 1 month. And then from December 1 to December 31, that is also another month. So all in all, that is 3 months. So 1,000 pesos monthly rental times 3 months. So that is equal to 3,000 pesos. So this is now the income or the earned portion of the 12,000 pesos. Let us now proceed to the liability or the unearned portion of the 12,000 pesos. So 12,000 pesos divided by 12 months. So that is equal to the monthly rental of 1,000 pesos and then multiplied by the number of months that is not yet consumed, and that is 9 months. So it starts from January 1, 2019 to October 1, 2019. So 1,000 pesos monthly rental times 9 months. So the liability or unearned portion is 9,000 pesos. We may also check our work to make sure that the income and the liability is equal to 12,000 pesos. So 3,000 pesos income plus 9,000 pesos liability. So that is equal to 12,000 pesos. And then there is another way of computing for the liability or the unearned portion of the 12,000. But this is only applicable if we already had computed the income portion. So we have rent for 1 year, 12,000 pesos less the earned portion, which is the 3,000 pesos. So that would give us the unearned or the liability portion, which is 9,000 pesos. Again, this is only applicable if we already had computed the earned portion or the income portion. And let us now prepare adjusting entries in order to arrive at the correct balances of the income and liability accounts. And we'll start preparing the adjusting entry under the income method. In the journal entry on October 1, 2018, under the income method, we have the credit entry, rent income, 12,000 pesos. And then we're going to post it in the rent income account. So we have here the 12,000 pesos on October 1. So if there is no adjusting entry to be prepared, so the rent income balance until the end of the accounting period will remain at 12,000 pesos, which is not correct. Because per computation, the earned portion or the rent income is only 3,000 pesos. And the remaining 9,000 pesos must be transferred to liability because this is still unearned. So it is not considered as an income. In order to get the correct rent income balance of 3,000 pesos, there is a need to prepare an adjusting entry at the end of the accounting period in order to remove the 9,000 pesos from the 12,000 pesos. Take note that the rent income of 12,000 pesos is in the credit side. So in order to reduce the rent income balance from 12,000 to 3,000 pesos, we need to prepare an adjusting entry. The adjusting entry will include a debit entry to rent income, 9,000 pesos. And then this 9,000 pesos that we remove from the rent income, this will be transferred to liability, which is the unearned rent income. So this is now the adjusting entry on December 31, 2018. So we have debit, rent income, 9,000 pesos, and then credit, unearned rent income, 9,000 pesos. Let us now move on to liability method. So on October 1, 2018, the pre-collected income is recorded with a credit entry to unearned rent income of 12,000 pesos. So if we're going to post it in the ledger or in the T account of unearned rent income and there is no any adjusting entry made at the end of the accounting period, so the unearned rent income balance in December or end December 31, 2018 will still be 12,000 pesos, which is not correct. Because based on our computation, the liability or the unearned rent income portion is only 9,000 pesos, not 12,000 pesos. Because the 3,000 is already an income. So in order to get the correct unearned rent income balance of 9,000 pesos, there is a need to prepare the adjusting entry. Note that the unearned rent income, which is 12,000 pesos, is in the credit side. So therefore, in order to reduce the balance from 12,000 to 9,000, we need to remove 3,000 pesos. So in order to reduce the unearned rent income balance from 12,000 to 9,000, we need to remove 3,000 pesos by debiting the unearned rent income with the said amount. And so the adjusting entry will include a debit entry to unearned rent income of 3,000 pesos. And then this 3,000 pesos, since this is already an income, so this will be transferred to the rent income account. So our credit entry will be rent income of 3,000 pesos. Again, the adjusting journal entry on December 31, 2018 under Liability Method includes a debit entry of unearned rent income, 3,000 pesos, and then credit to rent income, 3,000 pesos. So this is the record earned portion or income portion of the rent collected in advance. So we have here the comparative adjusting journal entries under the income and liability methods. And we also have here the T accounts. So what we are going to do now is to post the adjusting journal entries to the respective T accounts. Let's begin with the income method. So we have debit entry of rent income, 9,000 pesos. So in the T account under the income method column, so we have here debit rent income. So 12,000 pesos rent income on October 1, 2018, less the adjustment when made on December 31, which is 9,000 pesos. So the updated rent income balance is now 3,000 pesos. And then for the credit entry under the income method, we have unearned rent income, 9,000 pesos. So we have it here, 9,000 pesos under the unearned rent income T account. And then let's move on to the liability method. So we have a debit entry of unearned rent income, 3,000 pesos. So here in the T account, we also have 3,000. So unearned rent income on October 1, 2018 is 12,000 pesos, less the adjusting entry or the adjustment we made on December 31, 2018, which is 3,000 pesos. So the updated unearned rent income after the adjustment is 9,000 pesos. And then the credit entry is rent income. So we have it here also. Rent income credit 3,000 pesos. So take note guys that after the adjusting entry we made on December 31, 2018, the rent income balance under the income method is equal to the rent income balance under the liability method. And the unearned rent income balance under the income method is also equal to the unearned rent income balance under the liability method. Now, what will happen if we did not prepare the adjusting entries? So, obviously, financial statements will be erroneous. So, mali yung magiging financial statements. But let's get into specifics. For the income statement, if we did not prepare the adjusting journal entry on December 31, 2018, the profit will be overstated. So, the question now is why? So let's take another look with our original entry on October 1, 2018. So we have debit entry of cash, 12,000, and then credit entry to rent income, 12,000. So if there is no adjusting entry, so wala to, the rent income balance at the end of the accounting period will still be 12,000 pesos, which is not correct because alam naman natin na yung rent income is only 3,000. So, kinompute natin yan kanina, di ba? So, the rent income is only 3,000 pesos. So, etong 12,000 para sa rent income, this is overstated or sobra. Kasi alam naman natin, dapat sana 3,000 lang. So, this 12,000 is overstated. So, kung overstated yung rent income, affected yung profit. Kasi in order to get profit, you have to deduct expenses from the income. So, income less expenses is equals to profit. So, kung sobra na yung income mo, so meaning to say, sobra din yung magiging profit mo. For the statement of financial position or balance sheet under the income method, if there is no adjusting entry prepared on December 31, 2018, the liability is going to be understated and the owner's equity is going to be overstated. So let's start discussing on the liability. So why is it understated kung walang adjusting entry? So this again is the original entry we made on October 1, 2018 under the income method. So as you can see, we have a debit of cash at 12,000 and then credit to rent income 12,000. If there is no adjusting entry prepared on December 31, 2018, the rent income balance will remain at 12,000 pesos, which is wrong. Kasi alam natin, the correct rent income balance is 3,000 pesos and then the remaining 9,000 pesos is still a liability. So, kung walang adjusting journal entry, etong 9,000, hindi to ma-recognize. Ibig sabihin nun, kung hindi siya ma-recognize, hindi to siya makakasali sa ibang liabilities ng company. So, ang mangyayari, yung liabilities is kulang or understated by 9,000. And then, for the balance sheet, if there is no adjusting entry made at the end of the accounting period, the owner's equity is overstated. So previously, when we were discussing about the effects of error or omission on financial statements under the income method for income statement, I mentioned that if there is no adjusting entry made at the end of the accounting period, the profit is overstated. So if the profit is overstated, ultimately, the owner's equity is also overstated. Profit kasi is one of the components of the owner's equity. In fact, ang profit is an addition to the owner's equity balance. So, kung sobra yung profit na isinama mo sa owner's equity or inad mo sa owner's equity, so ang result, sobra din yung magiging total or overstated din yung magiging owner's equity. For the liability method, if there is no adjusting entry made at the end of the accounting period, the profit in the income statement is understated. So question, why is it understated? What is the reason? Let's take a look with the original entry we made on October 1, 2018 under the liability method. So we have the debit, cash, 12,000 pesos, and then credit to unearned rent income, 12,000 pesos. So unearned rent income is a liability. So, if there is no adjusting entry made at the end of the accounting period, the balance of unearned rent income would still be 12,000 pesos, which is not correct. Kasi alam naman natin that the correct unearned rent income balance based on our computation is 9,000 pesos. And the remaining 3,000 pesos is already an income. So if there is no adjusting entry na gagawin at the end of the accounting period, the 3,000 pesos will not be recorded or will not be recognized as part of the income. So ang mangyayari, yung rent income or yung reported rent income is understated or kulang. So kung kulang yung naging rent income, ultimately yung profit is also kulang or understated. For the balance sheet under the liability method, if there is no adjusting entry at the end of the accounting period, the liability is going to be overstated and the owner's equity is going to be understated. So let's start discussing with the liability. So why it is going to be overstated. So let's take a look again with the original entry we made on October 1, 2018 under the liability method. So we have our credit entry, unearned rent income, which is 12,000 pesos. So if there is no adjusting entry, the unearned rent income balance at the end of the accounting period will remain at 12,000 pesos, which is wrong. Because based on our computation, the correct unearned rent income balance is only 9,000 pesos. So the remaining 3,000 is already an income. Kung walang adjusting entry na gagawin at the end of the accounting period, yung liability that will appear in the financial statements will be 12,000 instead of 9,000. So overstated. And then for the owner's equity, if there is no adjusting entry prepared at the end of the accounting period, the owner's equity is understated. Kasi yung profit in this case is understated. So once profit is understated, ultimately yung owner's equity is also understated. Financial statement presentation. The unearned rent income, being a real account, will be presented as current liability in the liability section of the balance sheet, while the rent income, being a nominal account, will be presented together with the other income accounts in the income section of the income statement. We will now proceed to another type of deferrals, the prepayment of expenses. So, prepaid expense is an expense that is already paid but not incurred. So, this is an opposite to the accrued expense. So, if the accrued expense is an expense that is incurred but not yet paid, prepayment or prepaid expense is an expense that is not yet incurred but already paid. And there are two methods or approaches that can be used in recording prepayments, and these are the expense method and the asset method. Under the expense method, an expense account is debited upon payment of the prepaid expense. This method is also called nominal approach because an expense is an income statement account, and income statements accounts are also called nominal accounts. So to illustrate, on September 1, 2018, Raja Buayan Commercial paid an insurance premium covering from period September 1, 2018 to September 1, 2019, so that is for 1 year, and the amount of 3,600 pesos. The accounting period ends on December 31, 2018. So the journal entry on September 1, 2018 under the expense method, we have the debit entry insurance expense 3,600 pesos, and then credit to 3,600 credit to cash 3,600 pesos. That is the record insurance premium paid. So take note that under the expense method, the debit entry is an expense account, which is insurance expense. If there is no adjusting entry to be prepared at the end of the accounting period, which is on December 31, 2018, the insurance expense balance under the expense method will remain at 3,600 pesos, which is wrong. And then the prepaid insurance account under the asset method will remain at 3,600 pesos also, which is also wrong. That is because the 3,600 pesos at the end of the accounting period becomes a mixed account, a mixture of expense and asset accounts. And this is how the expense or the expired portion of the insurance premium is computed. So we have 3,600. So the 3,600 is the insurance premium for 1 year from September 1, 2018 to September 1, 2019. So we're going to divide the 3,600 by 12 months because 12 months because 1 year is consists of 12 months. So 3,600 divided by 12 months, so the answer is 300 pesos. And 300 pesos is now the insurance premium every month. And then the 300 pesos monthly insurance premium will be multiplied to 4 months. So 4 months is the number of months that already lapsed. That starts from September 1, 2018 to December 31, 2018. So September 1 to 30, that is already 1 month. And then October, November, December, so that is 4 months. And so 300 pesos times 4 months, so that is equal to 1,200 pesos. So this is now the expired portion or the insurance expense portion. And then for the asset or the unexpired portion, it is computed as follows. So we have 3,600 pesos, the insurance premium for 1 year, divided by 12 months. So the monthly insurance premium is 300 pesos. And then multiplied by 8 months. So these are the months na hindi pa naglapse. That starts from January 1, 2019 to September 1, 2019. So that is 8 months. So 300 pesos times 8 months. So that is equal to 2,400 pesos. So clearly, the 1 year insurance premium of 3,600 pesos is composed of 1,200 pesos expense or expired portion and 2,400 pesos unexpired or asset portion. And in order to get into that correct balances, we need to prepare the adjusting entries. Okay, so let us have first the expense method. The journal entry on September 1, 2018 upon payment of the insurance premium includes a debit entry to insurance expense 3,600 pesos. So we are going to post this one in the insurance expense account and it will appear as follows. So we have 3,600 on the debit side of the insurance expense account. So in order to arrive at the correct amount or in order to arrive at the correct insurance expense balance, which is 1,200 pesos. So we need to remove 2,400 pesos from the insurance expense. So this 2,400 pesos is removed because this is not yet an expense. this is still an asset. Okay, so let's have first the expense method. The journal entry on September 1, 2018 upon payment of the insurance premium includes a debit entry to insurance expense, which is 3,600 pesos. And if we're going to post it in the T account or ledger account of insurance expense, it will appear as follows. So based on the T account, the insurance expense has a debit balance of 3,600 pesos. And based on our computation, the correct balance of insurance expense is only 1,200 pesos. So in order to arrive at the correct balance of 1,200 pesos, so we need to remove 2,400 pesos from the insurance expense. So this 2,400 pesos is not yet an insurance expense. So this is not yet an expense. This is still an asset. This is still an expired. So in the journal entry, so this will be the journal entry, we have debit to prepaid expense 2,400 pesos and then credit to insurance expense 2,400 pesos. The 2,400 pesos that was removed from the insurance expense is recorded in the adjusting entry by crediting the insurance expense, which is also 2,400. And then this 2,400,000, which is, as I said earlier, removed from the insurance expense, this is transferred to the asset account, which is prepaid expense, 2,400. And because of the adjusting entry, the insurance expense and the prepaid insurance accounts are now at their correct balances. Let us now proceed to the asset method. The journal entry on September 1, 2018 upon payment of the insurance premium under the asset method includes a debit entry to prepaid insurance, 3,600 pesos. So if we're going to post that in the T account or ledger account of prepaid insurance, it will appear that the prepaid insurance has a debit balance of 3,600, which is not correct. Because based on our computation, the exact or the correct amount of prepaid insurance is 2,400 pesos. In order to get the correct prepaid insurance balance, which is 2,400 pesos, we need to remove 1,200 pesos from it because this 1,200 pesos is no longer an asset. It's no longer a prepaid insurance. This is already an expense. The 1,200 pesos is removed from prepaid insurance by crediting it. So that's why we have in the adjusting entry on December 39, we have a credit entry, prepaid insurance, 1,200 pesos. And then this 1,200 pesos that was removed from the prepaid insurance is transferred to the expense account, which is the insurance expense of 1,200. So that's why we have this debit entry, insurance expense 1,200. So again, our adjusting entry on December 31, 2018 under the asset method, we have insurance expense 1,200 and credit to prepaid insurance, which is also 1,200. Because of that adjusting entry, the prepaid insurance and the insurance expense accounts are now at their correct balances. I don't know if you guys observed this one, but I'd like you to know that after the adjusting entry we made, the balances of insurance expense and prepaid insurance under both methods are all the same. Now, what will happen if there is no adjusting entry? So let's start with the expense method. For the income statement, if there is no adjusting entry prepared under the expense method, the expense is going to be overstated and consequently, profit is understated. So let's take a look with the original entry we made on September 1, 2018. So we have debit to insurance expense 3,600 pesos and then credit to cash 3,600 pesos. Okay, so if there is no adjusting entry, therefore, the insurance expense balance at the end of the accounting period will remain at 3,600 pesos. Based on our computation, the correct amount of insurance expense is only 1,200 pesos. So kung walang adjusting entry na gagawin, mananatiling 3,600 pesos yung magiging insurance expense, which is mas malaki kaysa actual na insurance expense. And that's what makes the expenses overstated. And since overstated ang expenses, so as a result, understated yung profit. Kasi in order to get profit, you need to deduct the expenses from the income. So kung sobra yung expenses mo, di mas maliit yung magiging profit mo. And since profit is understated, so kasunod na dyan, understated din yung magiging owner's equity. For the balance sheet, if there is no adjusting entry under the expense method, asset is going to be understated. And here's the reason why. So this was our entry on September 1, 2018. We have insurance expense debit 3,600 pesos. So if there is no adjusting entry, the whole amount of 3,600 will be charged to expense. So walang napupunta sa asset. Dapat sana meron, 'di ba? The 2,400. Pero kasi walang adjusting entry, so walang napupunta ngayon sa asset. The whole amount goes to the expense. Let us now move on to the asset method. For the income statement, if there is no adjusting entry at the end of the accounting period under the asset method, the expense is going to be understated and the profit is going to be overstated. And here's the reason why. So this was our entry on September 1, 2018. So we have a debit entry to prepaid insurance 3,600 pesos. If there is no adjusting entry, the whole amount of 3,600 pesos will be charged to the asset, which is prepaid insurance. So walang mapupunta sa expenses. So mangyayari, the expenses is understated or kulang. Kasi dapat meron 1,200. So kulang or understated by 1,200 yung expenses kung walang adjusting entry. And if understated yung expense, so as a result, magiging overstated yung profit. And if profit is overstated, it follows that the owner's equity is also overstated. And now for the balance sheet. If there is no adjusting entry under the asset method, the asset in the balance sheet is overstated and the owner's equity is also overstated. And here's the reason why. This was the journal entry on September 1, 2018. So we have a debit entry on prepaid insurance, 3,600 pesos. If there is no adjusting entry, the whole amount of 3,600 pesos will be charged to the asset, which is the prepaid insurance. And that amount is overstated. Because based on our computation, the correct amount of prepaid insurance is only 2,400, not 3,600.